matter. Attention, citizens of matter. Attention, citizens of matter. Attention, citizens of matter. Attention. Citizens of matter. Attention. I have come from the 17th dimension to here to tell you I broke the dissension and that my orders can never be questioned. Citizens of matter, I must have your attention. Citizens of matter, I must have your attention. You've gotten away with it for so long. My time will be strong. Now I must sing to the gathered throng. You pronounce the name of your town wrong. Citizens of matter, attention. Citizens of matter, attention. Citizens of matter, attention. Citizens of matter, attention.
Our top story tonight. From the "you can call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner. But now that I think about it, please don't call me Hymie department. What a long, strange trip 1984 has been for the revered and Jesse Jackson. First, he frees a Navy pilot held hostage by the Syrians, then proceeds to squander away all that goodwill by taking over $200,000 in donations from the Arab League, as well as accepting the endorsement of Louis Farrakhan, the leader of a religious group that believes the Messiah will return on a spaceship and wipe out all of the white people. And now it appears he just can't stop calling Jews Hymie, at least according to the Washington Post. And we're still only in February. At first, Jackson issued a non-denial denial, saying he did not have any recollection of such remarks, then went on the offensive, demanding to know who the anonymous source for the editorial was. And when that source came forward and identified himself, Jackson went on the attack, claiming that he is being, quote, hounded by certain members of the Jewish community who persecuted his campaign, which went over about as well as you would expect, culminating in Jackson having to deny being an anti-Semite 3 times before Barbara Walters crowed during the last Democratic debate. Well, you know, if you have to repeatedly deny something, it can't possibly be true, right? Jackson, who has cultivated an image of being a bridge builder, even going so far as to co-opt the Rainbow Coalition brand, must no doubt be thrilled that he has managed to stake out a position that even segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever, George Wallace can agree with. From the duck and cover, you sucker department, comes good news for anyone who hasn't gotten over the day after yet, as it seems the National Attack Warning System backup system failed to perform its sole task, that of warning the proper authorities in the event of a nuclear launch from the Soviet Union, during a test that, as if matters could be worse, was being conducted in the presence of a CBS News crew, which is presumably the only reason we've heard of this. In a plot twist less believable than a pie fight in the war room, no one at NORAD, aka Plan A, was informed for 34 minutes due to a secretary being afraid of interrupting her boss, which is 4 minutes longer than it would take most warheads to arrive at their destinations. I suppose the only uranium lining to this fiasco is that at least the Nimrods who would be responsible for such an attack breaking out in the first place would fail to get enough of a warning to be able to get to their climate-controlled bunkers with enough provisions to last them until the fallout subsides and the nuclear winter is over, and have to chance it in a long tomorrow of their own creation, like the rest of us. I've got dibs on Alexander Haig's sweetbreads. Before any of you Matunites start getting comfortable, let me assure you this headline is completely erroneous, and that you all are on notice to stay on your best behavior. Well, I think we can all tell who blinked first. Bill was the quiet sort, neighbors said, the type of person you would have at least expected. The EPA is reporting that gas stoves may be the cause of increased rates of respiratory illness and heart problems in children, and the agency is considering drawing up regulations to limit their exposure to the harmful nitrogen dioxide. Well, if the federal government thinks they can come and take my gas stove, I'll be more than happy to introduce them to my two friends, Smith and Hotpoint. No, wait. A judge in Rolla, Missouri, has refused a postponement request from Shirley Allen of St. Charles, currently on trial for murder after being accused of spiking her late husband's drinks with antifreeze. Ms. Allen, 41, requested the postponement so she could have corrective surgery with regards to her malfunctioning glass eye. On the offhand chance she has the Missourian equivalent of Gloria Allred for her lawyer, after the trial, I think I know just the right man for her. The road to hell is paved with the furious intentions of women scorned, as shown by this scathing expose from jilted Linda Sawford, who had previously wanted to be the ball and chain to a young Reg Dwight, but proved to be merely a part-time love. Apparently, after a 9-month romance with as many as 5 coital interludes, their love blew out like a I thought I crossed that one out. And the caged songbird bit his lip and called off their wedding 10 days before the ceremony, saying goodbye Yellow Brick Road and finding Philadelphia freedom. Now that he has surprised the world, and perhaps his wife, by getting married, the bitch is back to let us know that the honky cat is, quote, lousy in bed. Real tiny dancer, if you can pardon my tonsorial eloquence. I know the year 1984 may seem far away to you folks at home, but let us look even further to what things will be like in the year 2000. In the year 2000. Oh dear. You know, this seemed like a better idea on paper. Let's just go to a commercial. This portion of the news is brought to you by PC Richard & Son, the TV audio appliance giant, now having a Washington's Birthday Super Savings Sale Sunday and Monday, Fisher semi-auto turntable for only $118. Emerson AM/FM stereo phonograph cassette player and recorder with speakers, only $98. We will never knowingly be undersold. Never. Like the PC Richard Giant says,
D5 bad I smell the blood of a fucking so-called giant. You should have stayed at the beanstalk. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. I heard you peasants were taking what money you were going to spend at this soon-to-be-ended Lipsqueak's audio store and spend it in old the Anderson Bay windows instead. 'Cause after I polish off this nonce, I'm coming after you next. This party ain't gonna be pretty.
quickly, let's get back to the show. It's yet another double drip from Walter Scott's PP this week. As first we find Del Mar, California resident DH, whose last name must be Lawrence, who wants to know all about Jimmy Carter's, quote, cute little daughter, 16-year-old Amy Carter, including if she is still wearing glasses, braces, and pigtails, and most importantly, if she is still under Secret Service protection. And Walter Scott, like an idiot, actually answered it. It's almost like these two are in the same club, if you know what I mean. And speaking of being in the same club, CTV from Camden, New Jersey, wants to know whether the wife of recently released Navy pilot Robert Goodman, who, by the way, is, quote, most attractive, is black or white. First of all, why do you care? And second of all, here is a picture. What do you think? And thirdly, why do you care? If he's dumb enough to marry a white woman, that's his problem. From the What Does the Duck Say department comes this free pass the Chicago Tribune has given to lunatic with extra initials after his name, Andrew Weil, the crazy person who thinks that all of society's ills can be laid at the feet of Western medicine and can be cured with a bit of the rush gotta yayo. I'm no medicine man, but I do know the average life expectancy in 1400 was 30 to 40, including the Chinese and pre-Columbian societies, which presumably had access to the natural wonder drugs Mr. Weil is pimping. By 1900, the life expectancy in the United States had skyrocketed from 40 to 47. But in the years since then, which includes the majority of the medicines, vaccines, and surgical advances we enjoy today, the number has increased to where it sits as of 1983 to 74.5. And I'm sure it was a coincidence. By the way, I don't mean to beard shame a man who is obviously overcompensating for the jarring effect a cool spring breeze has upon his head. But the only advice I would trust from a man who looks like this is the best places to hide a body, or whether an almond joy or a mounds is more effective at enticing a child into a van. One would think a good counter-argument to the CIA's insistence that employing homosexuals would leave the agents susceptible to blackmail would be living a lifestyle in which everyone knows you are a homosexual. But no, aerospace engineer John Green was out, and so he was out. But now he's back in, court that is, suing the CIA for $1 million over invasion of privacy and loss of due process. So I guess we'll see just how much the CIA is willing to pay to not have to reveal whether their anti-gay policy is the result of Cold War logic or just more of that good old-time religion. Somehow I have a feeling we'll never know. When I first saw this picture, I thought, 1984, a merman I should turn out to be. I read that this is from the Long Island Boat Show at Nassau Coliseum, and all I can hear is Catangonie. And now it's like, what if the taste of wild root cream oil was a sound? Buying a fur coat? See Centerfold? Oh, yes, please. Jesus Christ. Are those things still alive? Surprise! Chernenko has a daughter. I'll say, I didn't even know he was pregnant. I guess that explains why he seems so tired at the funeral and the wild mood swings. And I guess this picture must have been the moment when his water broke. Well, congratulations on the happy event, even if it was a daughter. Speaking of stories that seem so unbelievable that they couldn't possibly be true, and in the end turn out to not be true, it's time for another segment of the show that would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for people with eyeballs. 27th, 1920. An unknown woman was fished from the Landwehr Canal in Berlin after an unsuccessful suicide attempt. Covered in scars, the woman was placed in a mental hospital where the inmates ran the asylum, and she quietly let it be known to people who should know better that she was the daughter of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, which was odd, because if that were true, then she would in fact be dead, as were the Tsar and his wife and children, having all been executed by the Bolsheviks in 1918. Several Russian emigres managed to convince themselves that this woman was Grand Duchess, wait for it, Tatiana, the second oldest daughter, and well, just look at these two pictures. Unfortunately for her, eventually the eyes had it, and she tried again, this time claiming to be the youngest daughter, Anastasia. And this time, people really believed her. Released from the asylum, she now began calling herself Anna Tchaikovsky and went on a whirlwind tour of Europe, staying at the estates of various emigres and relatives of the Tsar, and despite not being able, or in her words, refusing to speak Russian, she was actually accepted by some as the real Anastasia. Various benefactors swirled about her for the next few years, since in 1928, in the absence of a body, the Tsar could be declared dead and his estates outside of Russia dispersed, and there was still the chance the Bolsheviks would be overthrown, in which case sponsoring the Tsar's only surviving daughter might pay great dividends. In 1927, an investigation conducted at the behest of the Tsarina's brother declared Anna Tchaikovsky was in fact Franziska Shanskowska, a Pole who had suffered a head injury in an explosion during World War I at the hand grenade factory where she worked, and had been in and out of asylums until she disappeared from Berlin in 1920, right before she jumped off that bridge. The rest of the Tsar's family produced the Copenhagen Statement, declaring her story a fairy tale, but that didn't stop other adventurers from squiring the increasingly unstable Shanskovska around New York City. At least until she killed her pet parakeet and ran around naked on the roof of her hotel and had to be committed again. By 1931, she was back in Germany and back in another asylum, eventually emerging to engage in several lawsuits, which took decades to litigate, never in her favor. Her mental health deteriorated, and after 60 cats at her cottage had to be destroyed due to neglect, she accepted an offer to emigrate to the US, where she married Charlottesville, Virginia professor Jack Manahan, and the two became well-known local eccentrics. In late 1983, Anna Manahan was committed yet again, but within days her husband had spirited her away, leading the police on a 3-day chase before the two were recaptured and Manahan was returned to the asylum, where she died on February 12, 1984.
She is Anastasia. I feel that a real injustice has been committed in this case.
Ich bitte dich, komm doch, Hans. Komm doch.
She thinks so too.
In 1991, after the fall of the... Oh wait, you're not supposed to know that part. The bodies of Tsar Nicholas, his wife, and 3 of their daughters will be found and confirmed through DNA analysis. But one daughter and Tsarevich Alexei will be missing, leading lots of stupid people to go, aha, you see?
If that was a Polish factory worker, I am the Pope. There were many, many aspects of her personality and her character and her being that were utterly distinctive. There was nothing imaginary about this immense dignity that she had, or this, which it was not apparent at first sight. It was something you had to be around her long enough, and you would see it revealed. You would see these moments of transformation of her body, her face, her voice, her personality. This is not the invention of her partisans. This is real. If we find out that 2 or 3 reputable tests for DNA demonstrate that she has not related to these bones, that she is not the same, then I will say, well, it looks like we made a mistake. I will say that, and I won't mind saying that. It won't reflect negatively on me at all. I will then want to know who on earth she was, as anyone who knew her would want to know.
In 1995, DNA analysis on a sample of Anna Manahan's liver will link her conclusively to a grandson of Franziska Shanskowska's sister. So, that proved it, right?
Peter Kurth followed Anna Anderson's story for 20 years. Shortly after hearing the DNA results, he came down with pneumonia and had to be hospitalized.
It is impossible for me to accept that Anna Anderson was Franziska Shanskowska. It will never happen, I promise you. This is because, as I've said, I knew her. And I'm speaking not as an expert, but as a witness, as someone who knew what she was like, knew what her presence was like, knew what her face was like, knew what her manner, her gestures, her every fiber was made of. She was an absolute lady right down the line. There was nothing about her that made you think of factories and fields. Nothing. It isn't about Anna Anderson, these statistics about what chances it would be that she was this, that, or the other thing. It's not about her at all. It's about science. Science, the tragedy of science and the dark side of science is that it does not take into account the authentic experience of real people. This was the big thing that was taken from her, was the right to insist on her own experience and her own memory. So that's all I'm doing here now, is insisting on my own experience.
Nothing is ever good enough for people. Well, dude, in 2007, the bodies of the Tsarevich and Anastasia will be found and also confirmed through DNA analysis. So there. Rest in power, Franziska Shanskowska.
You read a book, but I was leaving this dirt.
That's it. Living it.
Dirt it was, and nothing else, Mr. Manhattan. Not something comfortable reading a book.
No.
When you sit comfortable and eat nicely and read. I have been leaving this dirt. Dirt I was leaving. Please don't speak about this dirt. Really not.
No, but only
Please not.
because of his sailor, I'm thinking, you know, how he...
Please not. Dreadful. It comes a frightful mess out.
your mind finally be at peace.
How shall I tell you who I am? In which way? Can you tell me that? Can you really prove to me who you are?
And while we're talking about women who failed in their attempt at duplicating the fame of people they weren't, we bring you the story of Grace McGuire, who has once again announced her plans to duplicate the 1937 round-the-world trip of famed klutzy aviatrix Amelia Earhart, only this time with 100% less dying. Or 200% if you count what's-his-name. McGuire first gained attention in 1981 for being a woman pilot and Amelia Earhart expert who, well, just look at her. Astoundingly, in 1982, she managed to locate an actual Lockheed Electra 10E and began her Sisyphean quest to recreate the journey. And then what happened, you ask? Well, in 1983, she was challenged by an Hymie couple who also owned an Electra, and the race was on. 30 years. What's the definition of insanity again? At any rate, at least there is a happy ending for the plane, which after all the repairs and refurbishing will be a real-life Theseus' ship sitting in a museum 40 years from now. And what of the Hymie couple from 1983? Do they ever make it round the world? Oh dear, they don't even make it to the 7-year itch. Well, in the end, age and Lyme disease forced McGuire to give up a quest. But on the bright side, she gains one more thing in common with Amelia Earhart: failing to circumnavigate the globe.
This series is an interracial control of human information. The committee's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
I wish I had seen this art last week. I mean, who wouldn't want to see Bride of the Monster and Little Shop of Horrors at the Tequila Club? And I might even stick around for the Fiends, who I presume are some kind of minimally talented punk/surf rock band. And right in the garden spot of Hollywood Boulevard, no less. Let's see what else they had going on. Oh dear.
Remember little Dee? The little tiny one? She got married. Yeah. Yeah, they're married. I went to their wedding a couple months ago. And Kim ran away to Chicago on the spur of the moment, stealing one of my guitars.
Not the American hardcore guitar.
The one with the skull and crossbones. And who else was in the group then? Oh, Teresa. She ran away back to Michigan, leaving devil seals on her door.
On the other hand, this place may be too wild for me. Slam dance, doo 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 doo. Slam dance, doo 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 doo. Slam dance, doo 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 doo. Slam dance. Speaking of Ed Wood, in the real life case of Glenn or Glenda, we have the case of Eric or Erica at Lincoln Park Zoo. Eric, an 88-pound orangutan, was just about to be shipped off to stud in China when he unexpectedly gave birth to a baby orangutan. Upon closer examination, Eric was discovered to be a female, not a male as previously assumed. What I want to know is, what on earth goes on with orangutans in the downstairs department that no one could tell? I guess that explains why Dr. Zayas was such a grouch. Nine witches have been burned at the stake and another 2 hanged recently near Kuring, South Africa, after a series of lightning strikes which have killed villagers or destroyed property. According to Christian villager Simon Diadia, there are 2 lightnings, the natural ones that does nobody no harm, which is God's lightning, and the other kind sent by a wizard to kill someone by magic. When queried as to why witches who can call on the power of lightning would allow themselves to be burned alive instead of, using that power to defend themselves, Mr. Diadia said, "Oh gee, look at the time. I've got to get home and tape Transkaroo, or my wife will kill me." A young lesbian couple has failed yet again in their attempt to get a seat at the table. A semi-private table reserved for couples who want a more romantic evening than open seating, as a superior court judge has denied their motion for an injunction after being denied service by the owner of the Papa Chu restaurant. So remember, folks, you can watch 2 naked women writhing on top of each other at every other club on Hollywood Boulevard. But if you want to watch 2 young lesbians eating dinner, I guess you'll have to hope that these 2 will be nice enough to invite you over. Donald Trump, the man who destroyed the Art Deco sculptures adorning the Bonwit Teller building, rather than spend the $32,000 it would have cost to donate them to the Metropolitan Museum of Art like he had promised, while on his way to running up a $200 million construction bill for the tower he named after himself, now has his sights on making the NFL kneel. Observers feel Trump's ultimate goal is for the USFL to stay competitive long enough to force the NFL to merge and absorb the most lucrative teams, and another Donald J. Trump masterclass. Big shot piano man Billy Joel is telling the press that his purported romance with Always a Woman to Me, Christy Brinkley, has been blown out of proportion, saying much of what is written about the couple is made up. So I guess that means there's still a chance. Call me, Billy. Do you hear me? from the planet Houston, as word has reached us that 12-year-old David, who had lived his entire life inside an isolated environment meant to protect him from outside contamination due to a rare autoimmune disease, has succumbed 15 days after being removed from said environment. I don't understand doctors and their modern science. It's like I said 2 weeks ago. You can take the bubble out of the boy, but you can't take the boy out of the bubble. What were they thinking? You know, sometimes I see a headline and I'm just like, good. I hope they punched her while they were at it. Julian Simon, a senior fellow with the Heritage Foundation, has published a new report on immigration, for once daring to tell the truth about the scum and villainy that make up the illegal aliens who infest this country, living off the fat of the land, getting free education and social services, not paying taxes, and raping our young blonde, blue-eyed daughters, and occasionally our sons. Wait, no, I read that wrong. It turns out that when adjusted for age, there are no differences between the benefits illegals receive and the normal population. They pay the same employment, sales, and social security taxes, although they never file returns, so they don't get any of that money back. And the jobs they allegedly take from the white people, Americans, are the sorts of service economy jobs that pay so little that whenever the illegal employees are deported, the help wanted signs stay up until more illegals arrive. Because none of those jobs are fit for white men, Americans. Well, now that that's settled, we can work towards some kind of compromise that will allow these people to become legal citizens and continue to be productive members of the society they have given up their entire previous lives to get the small control that nobody else wants. Imagine how foolish we would look if we were still arguing about this 40 years from now. You'll have to forgive me if I seem a little distraught this week, as I have just finished watching the latest imported PAL Betamax tape I had converted to NTSC episode of Doctor Who, The Resurrection of the Daleks, and I still haven't gotten over the departure of Womanworth going through episode 4 of Frontios, frame by frame, Janet Fielding from the show. It was hard enough when Nisa left, but now it's just Turlo. You think I'm going to waste my precious time watching that freckle-faced ginger freak? Way to go, BBC. You've killed the show with your anti-female agenda. I regret to say, I will no longer be okay, one more episode. Movie star and crustagenarian Ernest Borgnine has emerged from the attic in which he keeps an image of himself that gets younger every year, with this startling claim about his wife's miracle formula. Quote, I have not had a facelift. And this is not the startling part. The only reason I look younger today than I did 10 years ago is because of what my wife has discovered. Really? Is that what you think? I think perhaps your macula have gone on strike. But the one thing I do know is there is no way I am giving out my credit card number for a cream from Ernest Borgnine that you put on your face. Famed Nazi hunter Beata Klarsfeld went 1 for 2 during her recent swing through South America, failing to get the Pinochet government of Chile to extradite Walter Rauff, the man who invented the mobile gas vans first used for extermination, but getting a pinky promise from Paraguayan authorities that if Joseph Mengele, the doctor of Auschwitz, were to ever be found in Paraguay, they would turn him over the next day. We swear totally we would wink, wink, wink. Miss Klarsfeld remains committed to closing the net around Mengele and bringing him to justice. We here at NF84 would like to suggest the following for her next trip. Police in Illinois are reporting that prostitution in our state's truck stops has declined markedly in recent months. And boy, howdy, do I not need a newspaper article to tell me that. Now, if you don't mind, I've been out of the game too long. It's time for Matty G to lay it down and get them biznitches earning green, you dig? Good news from Baltimore. In what doctors are describing as a miracle, a woman from Kuwait has given birth to a daughter after suffering 14 miscarriages due to an extremely rare blood disorder which makes her incompatible with her husband. Congratulations to the happy couple. And you know, it just goes to show, if at first you don't succeed, try, 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 try again. Speaking of the same thing over and over again, LFP asked Schul's mailbag if the Fall Guys Doug Barr is related to lookalike man who should never go to Zachadoom, Bruce Boxleitner. The eponymous Schul claims the resemblance is coincidental, but since Barr was here first, I would suggest it's deliberate. This can be seen in the following segment of the show that asks, are you the same guy? And finally tonight, we here at NF84 would like to remind everyone to hold on tight to your dreams, even if they are as simple as just wanting to go home, which seemed to be the only thing on a 28-year-old St. Louisan Robert Satel's mind on a Thursday night. It's 10:35 p.m. A state trooper clocked Satel's car, speeding east from St. Charles, and hit his lights. But Satel, driving a 1982 Trans Am, because of course he was, went all Smokey and the Bandit and led police from 3 jurisdictions, as well as the highway patrol, on a half-hour chase, cutting through 10 private yards, colliding with a trooper's car in one of them, and escaping from being boxed in a Denny's parking lot by jumping a curb and knocking down a sign before speeding away. Satel was arrested in his driveway while getting out of his car at 11 p.m. His Trans Am, bearing the license plate 82 Junk, was precisely that after the conclusion of the Cannonball Run. Satel was charged with driving while intoxicated and 2 counts of speeding, 94 and 110 miles per hour, and police are looking for further charges, including assault, leaving the scene of an accident, and resisting arrest. But goddammit, he made it home. I wonder how many decades it will be before he sees sunlight again. Oh wait, I'm getting that tempus lapsus feeling again. And suddenly I can see this man's future. 40 years from now, he, or at least someone with the same age and name who owned a house on the same street, will be a Ward 1 city councilman of Bridgeton, Missouri. Congratulations, Missourians, on your well-known voting acumen. And with that, you now have my permission to look away.